All right. Wait, no. Let me restart this. All right, everybody, welcome back. Sam's Army, episode 2.194. I thought about delaying this, taking a week off, but we got too much to talk about, so let's get into it. So we got headlines first: Shakira and Piqué, Benjamin Mendy and Puskas award, weekly what if, a hypothetical Premier League rule tweak, Premier League itself. We got the Dærbies breakdowns and some dead managers walking to discuss, plus a huge week ahead of us. And then finally, stoppage time with Ivan Toney's best bets and everyone's favorite segment, GOAWs. So now it is time to welcome in these beauties here with me this week. And we got a split panel here. We got people who have a shit-eating grin on their face, and we got people who are on the verge of tears. So you would not know that, however, unless you were watching us on YouTube. So little housekeeping note / promo. Go find the show on YouTube. Go to youtube.com, and then all you got to do is put in the @ symbol and Sam's Army, and boom, there we are. So go tune in, subscribe, leave some comments, and yeah, that's it. Back to the matter at hand here, the beauties we got. So first up, my fellow sad boy Tyler Terrence is with us, licking his wounds after a 3-0 shit kicking from Brighton this weekend. But for a moment, let's switch gears entirely. A little birdie told me, Tyler, that you are writing a soccer fantasy novel. So give us a little teaser, a little cliff notes. What are we looking at here?
It's a teen angst soccer novel about a young boy, a young strapping boy from the north central suburbs of New Jersey, Tommy Brewster, whose father played at Rutgers, was an All-American there, had a cup of coffee and indoor, but ended up, having a big ACL injury, and his professional career didn't amount to anything. But Tommy is looking to take the mantle, struggling with all things of being a teenager, a divorced household, struggling with some hormones and dealing with girls, also struggling with the concept of, wait for it, development academies in New Jersey, high school. He also likes to play basketball type thing, not based off my life whatsoever.
Yeah, not at all.
But no, we're about 40 to 45 pages deep. It takes a lot out of me emotionally, but I love it, and it's a nice little creative outlet. And I've always been a big writer, so it's a fun little side project.
Nice. Does it have a name yet?
Right now, it's just Tommy Brewster. I mean, it might amount to something else. I would like to call it something else at some point in time, but it's a working title.
Okay. Tommy Brewster. That's awesome, by the way. Just an opinion. So we'll move on. Mikey Fowler, whose face just makes me mad right now. Mikey, random question for you. Who's winning the Super Bowl?
Ooh, I like that question. The Philadelphia Eagles.
Really? Okay.
Chalk.
Well, chalk, but there's still some question marks there. Last but never least, we got Mr. Thunder from Down Under himself, Mitchell Goulet, aka Overtime Mitch, back from his trip to the other side of the planet. So how was the trip? What was the coolest thing you did?
New Zealand was cool. I didn't go to Australia, as your horrible accent implies, though. I was just in New Zealand. It was good, though. It was sick. I was there for about 2 weeks, a little over that. Watched very little sports while I was over there. Felt extremely disconnected from the world and you guys. But went everywhere.
Congrats.
Auckland, Wellington, appreciate it. It was a nice reprieve, but I wouldn't do it again anytime soon. Coolest part was, though, leaving the casino up. That was, yeah, and just saying that ensures that I'm leaving it down next time, but I can gloat in it while I'm at there. Yeah, left it up handsomely, I'll add.
Ooh, did you pay for your trip?
A couple meals and some hotel stays. Yep.
Okay. All right. So go. By the way, when I say down under, Australia is a continent and New Zealand is on the continent. So I was figuring that was
sure,
okay.
But I wanted to clarify, because they're very sensitive about that over there. You tell, hey, are you Australian? That's a hot topic.
I also think that Sam just looked that up and knew that he was wrong when he said down under and was trying.
Absolutely. And he wanted to cover his tracks with it. Yep.
Yeah, that's possible. That's possible. All right, let's move on. Let's hit the headlines here. So first up, we got to talk about this Shakira versus Piqué situation, because things are getting a little juicy here. So listen, a lot of people are comparing it, at least on my Instagram page, to the iKardashians. No, stop. Okay. The iKardashians is a beautiful, beautiful circus, whereas this situation is more like an MMA fight. At least it seems like it to me. So quick recap. Piqué, well, basically he allegedly cheated with a 23-year-old by the name of Clara. And so Piqué and Shakira, for those who, don't know, they were actually never married, but they were together for something like 11 or 12 years. They got a couple kids together. They separated a few months ago, apparently because of this cheating thing. And last week is when things really, the spice level got turned up to, I'm not going to say an 11. It got turned up to an 8, though. So Shakira dropped a new song that was basically a diss track, about Piqué and his, side chick / I don't know, maybe girlfriend now. So some highlights from the song were basically a lot of talking shit about Piqué and his new girl as well. The lines that really sort of stuck out were, you traded a Rolex for a Casio and a Ferrari for a Twingo. Now I didn't know at the time what a Twingo is, but apparently, I mean, I could have guessed it's a cheap car, but I guess that's all you really need to know. Then Piqué responded by doing absolutely nothing for a couple days. He was just tweeting, about his life as if like nothing was happening. He was tweeting about this Kings League thing, which I didn't know what it was until this whole brouhaha broke up, or broke out. It's a 7-a-side league, a 7-a-side soccer league that he is essentially launching. Good timing there. And, there's teams, they've got guys like Kun Aguero and Iker Casillas and like some huge names in this league. That's cool and everything. It doesn't really have anything to do with the situation other than, the league is definitely getting a nice little extra bump. But as part of the league or whatever, he announced a sponsorship deal with Casio about 2 days after the diss track dropped. And he showed up to the first game of this Kings League driving a Twingo. So, just to me, a hilarious response. Mikey, I'm going to go to you first here. So who's winning the breakup right now?
It's funny. I was so team Piqué and laughing about it, and there's so much team Shakira out there. It's not even funny. I like the idea of just him being like, we were never married. I'm going after my happiness. I understand there's probably kids involved or whatever. I don't know any of the real logistics of it, but from a purely PR perspective, I'm eating it all up. I'm cracking up at everything he does. So I'm squarely in team. Give me more Piqué content, to be fair.
Okay. You got Piqué winning. You just don't want to have to deal with the Shakira hype.
I had no idea that was the thing as heavily as it is. So.
I mean, every Shakira, Taylor Swift, Beyonce, they all have their hive of, Twitter fans who will come after your ass if you talk shit about them. So yeah, I feel you on being a little, reticent to stick.
I'm not going to publicly talk about Chup Chup and all that like everyone else is.
Yeah, I didn't even understand that part. That one got lost in translation. Tyler, you team Piqué or team Shakira, or where are you at on this?
Well, oddly enough, Greg Berhalter and Shakira share the same PR firm because both of them are killing it. No, I think I'm team Shakira. Coming out with music about your breakup is a very vulnerable thing to do. And to turn it into a diss track like that, like you called, I'm all about that. Use your skills and use your heartbreak for the greater good. I don't know if the greater good is just shitting all over your ex. In some cultures and in some places that might be, maybe in mine. Who knows? If I could write, I would. Music. But yeah, I think I'm team Shakira right now.
Okay.
And sure, I am going through a breakup of my own right now too, but that's nobody's business except for mine.
All right. We'll get to Sam's Army After Dark later. Mitchell, you're coming back from, down under ish and, seeing this whole situation, where you come down.
I just want to see, I can't wait to see Tyler use his skills and heartbreak to write this book. There's clearly some demons that you're
you can't write a book on heartbreak, silly. You would write poetry about it if you're gonna write anything.
We'll do our little poetry class after Sam's Army After Dark. The big brain answer for all of this is that it's a coordinated PR move, and that this is not just convenient timing that he has a Casio sponsorship and with whatever car he got
Twingo.
as well. They're splitting the check on this. They'll be back together in 3 months. It'll be like nothing ever happened because you say there's kids involved and, they're going to stay together for the kids and they're good for each other. So I'm team take a step back and look at the big picture. But for the actual content, I'm here for Team Piqué. He's handled this the funniest so far.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right. Well, first of all, you got your, I don't know if it's a tinfoil hat or your I Kardashians hat, because you sounded like you're basically describing.
I think you should consider doing an entire other podcast just about relationships in football as well, because it seems to be like a sweet spot of yours that you want to talk about. So I'm happy to join that one as well.
I think Sam's Army came about as a spinoff of like Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Like, let's talk about soccer while we're here.
I guess while we're here, right?
There's some truth to that, I suppose. We'll work your situation in as well, Tyler. We'll get all the relationships are in and around soccer.
Please don't.
Okay. Quickly, other headlines. Benjamin Mendy. So you guys might remember, there was this sort of weird news about him getting arrested and accused of all sorts of, sexual assault and rape charges. He was just acquitted last week on 6 counts of rape, 1 count of sexual assault. These all stem from sort of some parties he used to throw at his Manchester mansion. The jury was actually unable to reach a verdict on 1 rape charge and another of attempted rape. I have no idea what happens now. I know there's going to be a retrial on those charges that they couldn't come to a decision on, but like, if he's found not guilty for all these, does he just like go right back to playing soccer? Like, I have no idea how this situation plays out. Mikey, any thoughts at all?
I've thought the same thing about Mason Greenwood, like when or what. You always see like a tweet or two always rumbling about like players' presence at this or that. I'm going to learn what the answer to this is with these 2 situations, because I've never seen this before, obviously, with players that are that young with that much potential. You think about like, even in America, any like Ray Rice or anything like that always is at the end of players' careers. I would never know what happens when they're like 21 or 22 in this situation. I guess we're seeing it with Deshaun, but I think they'll come back, but it's going to be weird to watch happen for sure.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. I have no idea. So lastly, Puskas award nominees were the finalists, I guess, were announced last week. I think there was like 20 some goals, this being the best goal of 2022. Anybody got a favorite from the Tyler? We'll go with you first. Who you voting for?
Well, I feel like this Puskas is like, what's your flavor, right? And I feel like a lot of people are asked this question when they're just like shooting the shit with their buddies of like, what type of goal would you rather score? And like, for me, they're the 2 best examples of Theo Hernandez dribbling the length of the field and then putting it away and beating every single player on the field. That's one type of player. And then there's another one in Dimitri Payet, who hits the ball sweeter than any human being can possibly hit it from 35 yards out on a full volley. So it's like, it's very, opinionated, subjective, whatever. I think the defending on the Theo Hernandez goal, I'll just never understand at that level. And I'm not taking anything away from the goal, but I'm more of I like to hit bangers, on full volleys kind of guy. So I like the Payet one more.
Okay, fair. It's a good sort of description and background there too. One other sort of element criteria I'll throw in there is the stage. And that's why like Richarlison's goal, for me, is if it's not the top one, at least it's among them. Just because if it was on a Sunday league game, if it was even a Premier League just random.
Well, I think the Mbappe one could theoretically win, just given the fact. And I was saying this to somebody the other day. I was like, that was not a savvy football play for him to take that out of the air. That's a training ground strike, and he had time to take a touch. That was so unnecessary. It was in a World Cup final. Only he could get away with doing that if he didn't pull it off. And of course he did pull it off because he's Mbappe, but like, I'm with you. I think that the importance of the goal should play some role in it. And I could see it winning just for that. But like, for me, I think it technically should be the best goal, period, based on like skill and execution and everything like that. And I think Payet for me.
Okay, that's fair enough. If I were going to put money on something, it'd be the Mbappe goal, just given the sort of, everything surrounding it. Mitch, Mikey, what do you guys you got? Mikey, you look like you might have something.
I like Tyler. I like the way you describe that as a what's your flavor, because I've always loved the Tim Cahill World Cup over the shoulder volley, and Francisco Gonzalez is fucking filthy in this awards. So I love that one. I'm going to continue to support campaigns for sweet volleys over anything else. Situation, whatever. I agree with Tyler. Should be the best goal, and that's my favorite type of goal. So I would be dishonest if I didn't support Francisco Gonzalez's volley.
Okay, 2-team volley people here, Tyler and Mikey. Mitch, any thoughts on this, or is this lost on you from New Zealand?
Well, I have had some technology. It's not a third world country. No, this I like the way everybody explained this, and I'm glad you brought up the stage and the competition it's in. This award, how I think that should be taken into consideration, but this award to me is the best goal, and the stage is kind of like the icing on the cake. I think it can sweeten an argument, but I don't think it should be the crux of your argument for the goal. And I don't think there's a standout winner of like, oh, this is obviously the best goal and just a generational video. I'm going to go with the compassionate pick in Marcin Oleski, the amputee who had the bike, I guess you would call it. That's my pick because I don't think there's a crazy standout goal in this group. There's a lot of good ones. That one to me is great, and I think it would be really monumental for someone like him to thank you, Mikey, to win that award. That'd be really cool.
Good shout. I'm glad you brought that up, because that one was a great goal. And I think you're right. If there's no like total standout, and maybe Mbappe's is just given the stage and everything, but yeah, that could just be sort of a de facto default win. All right, weekly what if time. So this was submitted by Luke McCulloch. How would things be different if, hypothetically, the Premier League was not decided in the usual manner by points? 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw. Instead of that, if the winner was decided by the cumulative goal differential at the end of the season. I mean, like it's kind of, my first thought was like, is that even like, it's a silly question. It's like, wait, actually, no, if you think about it, it's kind of interesting. So, Mikey, you're not muted, so I'm going straight for you.
It is the absolute worst idea ever in correlation with the wage gap increasing between the bottom and the top. Absolute worst idea possible when you have teams coming in like Newcastle being able to spend and the promoted sides are still in this league. Absolutely not. That will be like 14 nothings. That would be really ugly.
Wait, but hold on a second. If you go back and look at the last 2 seasons, the goal differential isn't changing the top 4. A lot, and I've just looked at that. You know what I mean? Like the where you finish based on points in addition to goal differential doesn't change all that much.
Yeah, but that's the way that it is because people are incentivized for points. That's because that's how
still but goal differential comes into play before head-to-head does. So goal differential is the first tiebreaker.
Sure, but
it's not like they're letting up.
You don't play for tiebreaker. You play for points all the time. And because teams go into a game just needing points, it would change the way teams substitute.
I agree. It would change the game for sure, because it would be like it doesn't matter what's even happening.
It would change the game for sure, but I still think that the best team would end up winning.
I mean, it's an interesting thought. I mean, it really is the concept of it, because you would go in, think about how it would change games, right? So there's some games where a team goes up 2 goals and they take the 3 goals maybe, and they take their foot off the pedal, right? That would never happen. That would never happen. If you're up 3 goals, that means that you're just dominating somebody. You're going to put the pedal down harder, because that's where you're going to get your goals. That's where you're going to win the league.
Yeah, but those teams are going to also continue to keep going, as opposed to limiting the damage or just trying to get through the 90 minutes. They're going to be like, let's see if we can try to pull back 2 here, for whatever reason.
Right, on both sides. There's an interesting element.
But it's a much more open game at that point, and then it's a completely different sport than what we watch right now.
But then
are you just not even caring about that particular 90 minutes? Like, it's...
Well, so I think that it would kill big games, because then you wouldn't have teams that are trying to win. They're just trying to limit whatever potential damage could come about, right? Because Liverpool and City playing, Liverpool know that they're not going to go out and win 3-0. I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about when Liverpool was good. So like you're just gonna sort of play the game and try to limit the damage and see if you can come away and break even, as opposed to like going out and trying to win the game and enjoying like that type of rivalry like we've come to know. I think it would kill the big game.
Interesting. I'm sure there'd be all sorts of unintended consequences to come out of it. But if I like the question though. Well done, Luke McCulloch. All right, Premier League times. Let's start by running, through last week's results, starting with the Dærbies. Let's just go chronologically, not because I'm trying to not talk about the North London Derby, even though I'm trying not to talk about the North London Derby. First up was the Manchester Derby early on Saturday morning. So City went up 1-0. And then United got an equalizer on a highly controversial goal by Bruno, where Rashford was, clearly offsides by a mile, and it was flagged by the linesman. They eventually ruled that he did not interfere with the play, and the goal was allowed to stand. So that was the equalizer. And then United grabbed another from Rashford himself and held on to win 2-1. So Tyler, let's start with you here. What did we learn from this?
We learned that that's probably going to be a goal in a moment that's going to change the rule book. We learned, Peter Drury said after the game, and I don't disagree with much that he says, that this feels like the Manchester United of old. They won a really big game. And I said that at, last week's episode. I was like, they're going to be fucking up for this one, because it's to get within 1 point of the neighbors. It's to like kind of solidify yourself as being around for like the whole thing this year. But like they got by the skin of their teeth, and they got a little bit of help too. And like the way that the second goal unfolded was pretty fortuitous. And like the way that Garnacho kind of like took a step back and put Rashford on side and the whole thing, like it was a good football game. I thought both teams were trying to go after it for the most part. United didn't look outstanding, but this is what United has been doing recently, which is like not dominating the game, and they're not going to look like Arsenal, and they're not going to look like City. But what they are going to do is they're going to utilize guys like Rashford and Martial on the break, and they're just stingy enough defensively, and like Old Trafford believes again. And I don't think that United are back to their old ways or anything close to that. But what I do think is that they have a sense of belief that has been missing for over a decade now, which I think is super important.
They have a team. They have a cohesiveness. They have a plan, and they don't have a divisive personality in the locker room, which is all things that is completely different than 12 months ago. Mikey, what do you think?
Rashford is the one that's elevating this team to another level, and I think it has to be said just how he has always been a player who's been fearless in driving forward. I think the best thing I heard about him was that when Sancho has a bad game, you don't notice it, but when Rashford does, you do, which is just like a guy who just drives forward. And it's good to see things breaking his way. Statistically speaking, the amount of times he drives forward with that much pace, it's going to happen for him. And honestly, he's a treat to watch. So he, I think, is the linchpin to which all this kind of hinges on, because they do need a focal point. That they're missing one at striker. So if either one of those wings cool off, or if Fernandez hits a bad run of form or something like that, they're going to need to strengthen it at 9 really quickly. And if they do, I think this team is good enough to compete for any of the top 3 places. I will say that consistently.
Let me pose this question before you get to Mitch, Sam. But like, if somebody had said at the beginning of the season who was going to be more important to their team, Rashford or Jesus?
Yeah.
Well,
there's an argument. There's an argument to be made that Jesus hasn't missed enough games for it not to be Jesus as the answer so far.
You think he hasn't missed enough games yet?
He's saying
it's only
like,
realistically been like 3 Premier League
if Arsenal
games.
fall off, like it's kind of early.
But they haven't yet, and they look.
He transformed that team, though. To be
agreed. But like, I'm saying, more important to the fact that if they lost Rashford, they would truly be lost. And I thought that was going to be the case with Jesus, but that clearly isn't.
True. I guess every day Nketiah bags one in, the answer becomes more Rashford here, for sure.
But anyway,
agreed.
That was my own. That was my only weekly what if.
Fair thought.
I'm glad you bring up Rashford, because he is he's the sort of the game changer on the field. I think Erik ten Hag, by the way, needs to get a lot of credit here. Like everything he's doing seems to work. You know, Luke, he left Martinez and Harry Maguire on the bench. He put Luke Shaw at center back. He put Malacia on the left. Everything he's doing works. Like he's just got the Midas touch, if you will. So Mitch, do you see United as being in the title race?
Unfortunately, I do. I want to talk about the goal as well. I think that that is, like you said, Tyler, going to change the interpretation of the rule. And I want to focus on the verbiage that they say, what is it, affected or interfered with the play. He did interfere with it. That's not, the interpretation is not that you can't touch the ball. It is he's affecting the play by running the way he does, making movement for the ball. There's like a couple comparison goals that I can point to and make it clear that the infringing player is not making an attempt at playing the ball. Rashford clearly did and should have been offsides.
But
this 1,000% offsides.
Wait. I'm glad you brought that up because I got so many comments from people saying, okay, well, first of all, people are like, you didn't touch the ball. First of all, that's just completely wrong. Like, let's sort of move past that. Then people are saying the rules need to be rewritten or tweaked or whatever, which may be true. But my interpretation of the rules, Rashford was offside. He affected the play. He affected the defenders. There is zero question in my mind that Ederson plays that differently. I think Akanji gets a tackle in on the play. Like he affected play, plain and simple. And I think by the rules as they're written, he's still offside.
Yeah. I mean, somebody tweeted it out and was just basically like, and it was a professional player, I forget who it was basically like, this just goes to show that people who are either making the decisions on the field or who wrote the rules have never played the game before. Because for you to look at that and think that Rashford didn't affect the play and didn't affect what Akanji and what those guys were going to do is literally blasphemous. I mean, this rule is, and I agree with you, this rule is less up for interpretation and less ambiguous than
handball
natural position. Without a shadow of a doubt. What affecting a play is so much more obvious than what a natural position is, in my opinion. That rule was fucked.
Yeah, it is fucked. I mean, Rashford essentially ran with the ball at his feet for 2 to 3 to 4 steps, right? And did that from maybe 30 yards out to basically 20 yards out. That changes everything. I mean, it just changes how everybody plays the game or plays the play, other than Bruno. Bruno just like acted like Rashford wasn't there, and credit to him for that. But like, let me ask you this. If United doesn't get that goal, does the game end 1-1? Does the game end 1-0 for City? Like, Mitch?
Mathematically, the game ends 1-1.
Well done.
Hard to say. I don't know. I know this conversation would be a hell of a lot different.
Yeah, I think City wins that game. It just didn't seem like United had the belief, really. Like, I know they were playing well. Defensively, they're just sort of night and day versus before. It just didn't look like they really believed they were going to score. And then they got that goal, and it just changed everything. Garnacho was, I mean, he's interesting, that guy.
I like what Tyler said.
He'll be on loan in a couple days.
Yeah, seriously. I like what Tyler said in that they show up for these big games, and they haven't in past 2-3 years. These are games that they usually don't even get a point from. But this kind of United that is able to like unseat City is scary, and they are a top 3 contender, title contender.
Yeah, so Mikey, you agree? I mean, listen, I'm willing to admit Arsenal's in the title race at this point. They're the odds-on favorite to win, by the way. That just changed this week. Where do you see, is United in the title race, Mikey?
If United's quote unquote in the title race, it means Arsenal's won the title, because that means City will have fallen off dramatically. And so I still think
United catching Arsenal.
If United are anything but third, it means Arsenal won the title handily, in my opinion.
Handily. All right, Tyler?
Because that means City fell off a cliff.
Yeah, I'm with Mikey.
Okay. We'll get to this more later, obviously. But that was just an interesting game, and United is just, they're good. They're a good team, which we haven't said that much in the last few years. Next, North London derby time, where Arsenal showed up and they won.
I thought you were going chronological order.
No, I'm just going right to this. Get it out of the way. Let my hurt.
You'll delay my pain until the end. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Exactly. So Arsenal showed up. They won 2-0, and Tottenham have yet to arrive, essentially, at the fucking stadium because the team is a shambolic clown show, and everybody stinks, and Conte ball is not working, and the entire world and universe sucks. But enough about what I think. Mikey, what are your thoughts here? What do we learn from this game?
Kind of want to collaborate with Mitch on this one here. Did you learn anything new coming out of this game, Mitch, that you did not know about these two sides?
My opinion of Zinchenko is higher now, and I didn't think it could go higher. I already had an incredibly high opinion of him. I don't think he put a foot wrong the other day. I don't think I learned anything new. No, there were no epiphanies. This is business.
And Sam, I'll tell you, we have played well enough in your stadium to get results in the past, but the moments haven't gone our way. And I think Aaron Ramsdale had his best game as an Arsenal player. That Sessegnon save, I think, is not – I know how much it's getting talked about. I seriously think it's not getting talked about enough. That game flips on its head if the Sun one goes. There's a lot of moments in that reminded me of all games against Tottenham, and they just didn't hit the back of the net. So it's not unusual to feel that assertive and that in the front foot in this fixture, but it's never gone as smoothly as that, is what I'll say about it.
We controlled that game for much, much longer than we normally would.
And there wasn't that back break. Yeah, there wasn't that back break. So, I agree with you.
Even when you guys didn't have the ball, I mean, like, you were just in full control of the game almost the entire time. Just never. It was one of those games for Spurs where I'm sure they came away from it and felt like, even though we created chances, we never felt like we were going to score. We never felt like we were going to win, which is a dangerous place to be as a team.
Sam, do you feel the selection of Sarr was Conte trying to communicate with the board in any way?
I have no idea. Maybe. I mean, like the issue, the relationship with Conte and the board and whatever, like, it sucks. Like, we have a manager who's basically a lame duck right now, right? His strategy, his philosophy.
What a dick.
Is never me or Conte.
Him, he's such a dick.
Yeah, but he's got the resume to sort of back it up. His resume is better than fucking Tottenham. So, I don't know. Conte ball is not working. It's not working right now. And the team has regressed. I know injuries play into that to a certain extent, but we still have way too much talent. Like, I'm really, really frustrated. I guess we'll get to Tyler in just a little bit here, and he's probably going to feel the same way, but it's just like, I don't know, other than sort of making some sort of big splash in January, which I don't see that happening for us. Like, we need better players, but we also have players that need to play better. Like, we just like, Kane didn't do anything. Son has been absent this entire goddamn season. I don't know what is going on with Son. I love him. Seems like the nicest guy in the world. He played well in the World Cup, which makes it even more confusing and frustrating. I don't know what's going on with Son, but he, after his coming off of a golden boot season, he sucks. He freaking sucks right now. So I don't know what's going on. Defensively, they're doing okay. Offensively, it's a mess. The philosophy, the strategy, the mentality is not good, because we come out every single game and suck in the first half. It's happened for months straight. Like, I don't know. I'm frustrated. I don't know. I've got nothing else to say. I'm sad. Sad boy season right now.
We're not.
You're not making this enjoyable for them. Like, I can tell that they're just sort of like you've taken the wind out of their sails a little bit.
Really, I want to commend Mikey for not rubbing salt in the wound and pushing the anti-sun agenda that I know he loves so much.
I was in. Oh man, the lectures I give my poor girlfriend who just likes him and his wife on Instagram. I'm like, but you don't know, he's a little fucking cheat sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, you don't understand. He just smiles. He's the only man that's ever smiled his way out of a 3-match ban.
Mikey's hate for Son is only trumped by Neil Maupay.
Fair, but I will say this one last thing, and I'd be remiss not to say it. Has there been a bigger game than Arsenal United in the Premier League since Liverpool Cities of the past?
It comes at a great time.
What does that mean? That was like a year ago.
Well, I think this is the biggest game of the season.
Sure, go ahead and say that, but stop acting like this is some sort of biblical,
I think it's fucking huge.
It's biblical because Arsenal's involved. When is the last
Arsenal's in the game?
When is the last time Arsenal's been involved in a biblical type game?
It's been a Christ. Act like you've been there before. Good.
I've never. I seriously haven't felt like this in my entire Arsenal fandom. Came in too late to enjoy the early days.
Yeah, but you're a sports fan. Like, you understand that these things happen and that they're cyclical. Like, I mean,
it's different though. You know, a title race is a hell of a lot different than a playoff structure for an American.
No, I agree, but he was just trying to do a weekly what if and saying like this is the biggest game in Premier League history. Like, yeah, it's a game against the two of the top 3 teams. It's not even first and second place. What are we talking about?
Tyler, I love it.
Hyping
He's
it
already
up.
getting his hate out. He's got so much hate in his heart right now.
I've been super calm this whole episode, but like when Mikey's gonna say like there hasn't been a bigger game since Liverpool Cities. Oh, you mean like 6 months ago there hasn't been a bigger game?
I haven't felt a Premier League game have this much buzz in a long time.
That you've been a fan,
right? When he said that, it was for me. For me, this is the biggest game in Premier League history. Which is listen, that's how we all think. At the end of the day. All right, we'll get to power rankings. We'll get to the United Arsenal game. It's going to be a huge weekend coming up, by the way. But first,
do a job.
The rest of the results: Brighton, curb stomping Liverpool 3-0. I mean, what is wrong with this team, Tyler?
This is the first time this season where the alarm bells have started to go off. To get curb stomped not once but twice, and obviously one of them being on your own patch at Anfield against Brighton, and you got basically piped by Trossard and Sully March. That's ultimately what happened by those two guys.
Yeah.
If it's Kevin De Bruyne, if it's Saka, if it's Harry Kane, fine. Fucking Trossard and Sully March? You kidding me? We are so... Okay, here's the deal. I still... we still have ridiculous amounts of injuries. For Jota and Diaz to not be playing right now, and for not to be Diaz, Jota, and Salah up top, which is still going to be one of the most competitive front threes in the Premier League, if not the best, it kills us. And injuries are hampering us the same way that they did in 20 and 21. With all that said, we made a quadruple substitution, and I did not feel like any single one of those substitutions was going to make us better, was going to change the game, or was going to have a positive impact. A quadruple substitution. Ben Doak, Harvey Elliott, Naby Keita. The fuck are we doing? And for like Gakpo, I don't know what position Gakpo plays. I really don't. He's not a winger in this organization. I think that Klopp needs to pull like some sort of, Roberto Firmino rabbit out of the hat and turn him into a midfielder, because this is a disaster. And like, I think that they're sick and tired of hearing Klopp's voice. And the only reason that I know that is because they can't go and do what they did to City earlier this year and then go do that against the likes of Brighton, against Nottingham Forest, and against Fulham, and Newcastle, and whoever else it's going to be. There has to be a change. I mean, Klopp confirmed it today. It's going to be a summer of change. But at this point, I don't know how much longer keeping Klopp around is going to benefit the club. I think that everybody needs a fresh start, and to hit the reset button. They're in a bad way right now. I just don't think that. And yeah, Van Dijk being hurt and the whole thing, but injuries aside, there's still too much talent on this team to just get beaten to a pulp by Brighton.
Mauled. Yeah. All right. Well, listen, it doesn't get any better on the other side of Merseyside. Actually, it gets worse. So,
Yeah, the only thing we don't have is board members not being asked to come to the game.
right. So before the game, this is Everton at home against, woeful, lowly Southampton. They put out a statement saying that there was some sort of real incredible threat to the board, so the entire board didn't show up to the game. And then the Toffees, went on to lose to, as I said, lowly, woeful Southampton. It's just, this team is a mess at the moment. I don't know how Super Frank still has a super job right now. I mean, I feel like he should be super unemployed at this point. I don't know. Any thoughts on Everton or Southampton? Give them some little credit. Give them some daps here. Any thoughts on this game or either team?
You know what this feels like? If they need to survive, obviously, like West Ham did when people were storming the pitch and trying to,
like, very similar. Yeah.
What about United?
On 4 or 5. What is that? 4 or 5 years ago, and then they needed a guy like, I forget how this whole thing unfolded, but the way West Ham dugout should be how it's studied at Everton, and it's not the way that they spend money, and it's not the way that they go through change. So I think they're holding on to Frank because they haven't decided who's next, and that next person is going to be like, you got to keep us up 1, 2, we're going to back you, and they need to find a way to build like very British sides that survive and keep going up. So they got to re-scrap it all.
I mean, Big Sam is available, probably dancing.
If Big Sam comes back, I'll be so fucking pumped. Oh my God, I'd be so happy.
It would be awesome. Yeah, I don't know about this.
Sean Dyche, the only one that can fix this issue.
Facts.
He would put some Britishism into it real quick.
If Rory Delap listens to this, get your boots waxed.
Last result, I quickly want to talk about Chelsea. So they got the win. Good for them. It wasn't pretty, but they needed that win. 1-0 over Palace.
Good for them.
I clap, golf claps. I mean, I don't even know what wins feel these days. I know that was real.
If Pulisic's not healthy and not playing, I want that club to fail.
Right, exactly.
Okay. All right, just so we're all on the same page.
Regardless, I want that club to fail. Fabrizio FC.
I mean, listen, the fact that Pulisic is going to be out for, a couple months, it does make sort of hating Chelsea so much easier.
Todd Bowley's wife has his checkbook.
I was watching 60 Minutes last night. Yes, I do watch things other than sports. And they were talking about like all of these Russian oligarchs and, the money that they have and, like just a bunch of different shit that was going on. And they featured Roman Abramovich and they failed to say Roman Abramovich, like multi-billionaire and old Chelsea FC owner. And they just sort of glazed over the fact that he used to own Chelsea. And I was very upset, but I pointed it out to the people I was watching it with who are also like quasi soccer fans. But anyway.
It is a strange. What else is he known for around here other than being like Putin's friend? Like that's it. Chelsea owner or ex-Chelsea owner and Putin's friend. Those are like the 2 bullet points.
We're probably not the test group.
Probably not.
Well, well, speak for yourself because I am, I'm Sam's Army political correspondent, Tyler Terry.
That's right. Anytime
that's fair.
Grenade, throw it to Tyler. So listen, Arsenal won the derby, but you took an L from Chelsea on Mudryk. What's your thoughts on losing out on him? For the record, I thought it was a done deal too. Like there's so much smoke and it didn't sound like anybody else was serious about it. And then total 11th hour, like, oh, by the way, Chelsea's going to buy him instead. I was like, what? What the fuck was that?
I'm not going to say anything out of turn here, Mitch, and I'm not going to speak on behalf of you here, I promise. Mm-hmm. But then having 22 million of that donated to Ukraine and having this whole thing it's just weird how it all worked. Mudryk hasn't posted about the transfer. There's all the stuff he was doing to get there in the first place. It's just weird. All of it is just, there's going to be a really large study or something about this fucking transfer. It reeks. It reeks.
I appreciate you not speaking for me there, but I'm going to co-sign everything you just said. It is, I've seen chatter, and at first I kind of wrote it off as like, this is just people on the internet being weird. And then I kind of explored the facts of the situation, and it's like, it is just strange.
It makes no sense.
No, and I'll commend Arsenal for, I guess, sticking to the club strategy of recent is to not getting into bidding wars and
Mm-hmm.
sticking to price tags that we set, not being super flexible. Like, I'm good with that. That to me says that we carry ourselves in the transfer market with a little authority. And we're not just going to be suckers for $100 million price tag. Not that he's not worth it. We'll find out. But no, I do think this transfer as a whole is weird. That the donation, the fun, I won't go too much into it. That's Tyler's political realm. But
Lissandro Martinez was the first choice we missed out on and ended up with Zinchenko. There have been opportunities for us to, like, we've missed on players and gone to backups. Ben White even probably was an alternative to something. But yeah, I'm moving on. Like, I'm completely over it, and Fab posts about it every fucking 25 minutes. So I'm so sick of this transfer already. He'll never, the guy has played less than 50 times in the Ukrainian first division. Like, 100 million pounds is fucking crazy.
Tyler, any thoughts? Put a bow on this situation?
No, Jose Mourinho doesn't like it, and he was bashing. He's like, "We are not Chelsea. We cannot buy Mudryk for 100 million or whatever it is."
Yeah, fuck yeah.
His
ally.
His panties were in a bunch after a 2-0 win against Fiorentina over the weekend.
I love Jose.
Yeah. And he's not being hypocritical at all when he's talking about those sorts of things and having worked for those clubs in the past. But anyway, that's my bow.
Okay. Other results. Villa Leeds went about how you would expect. I actually was expecting more goals from that. Wolves West Ham went exactly how you thought it was going to go.
That Wolves team stinks, and that West Ham team double stinks.
West Ham
There's a guy who commentates. There's a guy who commentates on Sirius XM FC. He's on in the mornings. His name's Tom Rennie, and he's a huge West Ham fan, and he also does radio commentary over in England too. And he tweeted like an hour before the game started. He goes, "God, I can't wait to lose 1-0 to Wolves today."
I mean, it was going 1-0 one way or the other. Unfortunately, win against him.
That is not the type of game that West Ham wins, though. That's always the type of game that Wolves will win.
West Ham. I mean, we've been talking about a world of hurt for Everton. West Ham is in the same exact boat. Like David, except for the fact that I would say David Moyes, I would put more faith in him, in his ability to perhaps turn this around. Moyes has been there. He's done that. He's shown.
Who's considered a bigger club? Who is this more? Who would it be more disappointing for to get relegated?
West Ham or Everton?
Yeah.
To be fair, there are only 2 clubs in Merseyside, and there are several in London.
That was going to be my main. It's a London club, and the whole thing.
Yeah. And they're in that fucking stadium. That stadium in the Championship would be hilarious. It's like 1 billion people.
It's the worst. I mean, to be fair, that atmosphere was decent last year, but like overall, that place is a spaceship, and it's a terrible place to watch a soccer game.
Yeah,
it's like Gillette.
I don't know anything about that. But
at the stadium down under.
That's a great question, though. Who would between West Ham and Everton? I don't know.
If we have any English Sam fam out there who has spent time over there, know the history a little bit better than we do, hit us up.
Well, I mean, they're both, they're both, I don't want to say blue blood, but like blue blood Premiership, right? Like they've just been in the Premier League all along. Yeah, that's a great question. Other ones, Nottingham Forest. Shout out to the Tricky Trees. I know Leicester sucks right now.
These guys won't go away.
They will not go away, and they just keep spending. I don't know. Like, we talk about all this oil money, and I don't know where bully bucks come from, but like the Greek shipping market must be booming, because they just keep on keeping on the spending.
Or they're leveraging their entire future to stay up.
I didn't say this to Chief, to Ryan, the Barcelona
We've
guy.
seen this before.
Yeah, it has Leeds. I'm sort of like getting the Leeds vibe from this.
Hopefully not Portsmouth.
To be fair, okay, I would like to go on record and say that if I was in charge of a Premier League team or a potentially yo-yo Premier League team, I would do what they're doing as opposed to what Norwich and Fulham do. And let me see if I can mortgage my future to make sure that we stay up for the next 10 years as opposed to go up and down 5 times in the next 10.
I think that's
you're
so
only
spot
the
on.
owner. You're only the owner for the near future. Fuck it. Let's run it.
It does not matter to me. Like, if we don't,
not my problem.
I don't care if we have to play in the parking lot of a grocery store next year. Like, we're not going to be able to afford, the mortgage on our stadium.
Facts.
Brentford, Bournemouth, exactly like you'd expect. Newcastle, Fulham. Fulham, to their credit, they lost, but they're still tough. That team, Ream team.
I hate watching that Newcastle team squeak wins.
What's that?
Mitrovic's penalty that he like trick shotted.
That should be the Puskas. Honestly,
True.
I've never seen that go in before. I've only seen those missed.
I've practiced that, and I have tried many, many times to make that go in and like put that into the top corner, swing it, kick it one way, redeflect it the other. It's impossible to do on purpose. He's done it in a Premier League game. I don't know how the fuck he's managed that. That's crazy.
It was a great penalty. Illegal.
Huge fantasy swing for me. Huge fantasy swing.
Rashford was a big one for me. Needed that boy to show. I made him my vice captain too. It was a big one.
All right. Before we get to the big weekend ahead, quickly power rankings, because I feel like there could be a little. I do
Brighton
think
one.
Brighton. Good start. Good start. I feel like Mikey's got to go first here.
Man, why? You have to put out United ahead of City, and I think respectfully, I'm going to say Arsenal's win against a bottom club was more valuable than United win against City. So I'm going to go Arsenal, United, City, Newcastle.
No.
Here's what I got.
United City. Sorry, United City. Did I fuck it up?
Oh yeah.
I meant United City.
You said Arsenal, United, City, Newcastle, right?
Newcastle.
Yeah. I disagree.
I don't know why I care so much. I hate this segment so much. I don't know why I care.
He hates it more than Mitch somehow. I got City up top.
I've been disconnected for 2 weeks. I get to omit myself from this one.
It's true. Mitch hasn't really gotten the flavor of how the.
I want City right now. To be fair, I want City right. This is a contingent on right now, right?
Arsenal
right now on a neutral field. That's what it's all about.
I want them right now.
Arsenal, City, United, Newcastle, and like. Come on, you could not have watched that game and been like, City are like United is definitely a better team than City after a bullshit goal. And even the second one was like kind of like, it was just a weird get. Like the whole thing was weird. I didn't think that United they obviously did enough to win the game, but I just don't think that it just didn't. When they won, I was just like, wow, they definitely got away with one there. Obviously, I don't care, but I did not come away from that game being like, okay. I'm headed into power rankings with City in third this week.
I got City up top. I got City up top. I'm still, if we play,
I knew you were going to, and that is blasphemy. The only place
that Arsenal played in a neutral field right now, I'm just going off. If they played in a neutral field right now, who would I put my money on? I would put my money on City. I absolutely would.
Idiot.
I am an idiot. But
okay, I might be hypocritical in saying this, but at what point does Arsenal's 8-point lead start to like hold any sort of value? When does that start to hold value?
I'll tell you when. After this United game. After this United game coming up this weekend.
That has nothing to do with City.
Because it has everything to do with Arsenal. When does the 8-point
by the time that game kicks off, it might be a 2-point gap between Arsenal and City.
Your head is so far up your ass with this segment. I don't think you know what this is about anymore and exactly where teams belong with regard to power rankings. Listen, you've lost the plot.
Tottenham has scrambled my brain more than it was already scrambled.
Tottenham is not confusing. Tottenham is not confusing. They are extremely straightforward.
This should be the easiest for us, Sam, because our teams are nowhere near the top four. So like we're just able to go about this in a pretty objective manner and be able to do it without any bias. But you're just making things so unbelievably complicated and overthinking it that I feel sorry for whatever's going on in your brain.
I'm not overthinking it. I am overcomplicating it, perhaps. But I'm telling you, if City and Arsenal played in a neutral field right now, with no Jesus, obviously for Arsenal, I would go City. I absolutely would put my money on City.
How many times if they play 10 times? What's the record?
Well, right now I would say 5 wins City, 3 wins Arsenal, 2 draws.
That's probably what the odds would look like.
Yeah, I don't totally disagree with that, but
you wanted to jump down my throat,
which totally negates my argument. But
It does. You just said you admitted.
No, but I think that the issue is that we actually need to see them play against each other, and they need to play 10 times on a neutral field. Because
hold on, we gotta get the sound effects in here. Right?
No, but I still think that there is City biased based on the past X amount of years of their success that we all are still living in right now.
For sure. Because they're still the same team and they've got Erling Haaland.
An 8-point lead is nothing to turn your nose up at, and that's with Haaland, and that's with Jesus having been absent for the past several games.
Yeah, listen, my opinion of Arsenal has changed. I mean, before I was 100% convinced.
Say that in a less convincing way, and I will do this podcast for free from now on.
Well done. Listen, I was 100% convinced that Arsenal was going to fade. Something was going to happen.
It's been 3 matches. Let's still relax here.
True. I still think you're going to fade. But I'm nowhere near as convinced. I'm starting to get nervous. Now I'm starting to get nervous.
If you said that City could take a 9-point lead on Arsenal in half a season, I would say that's very believable before the year started. That's all that needs to happen for this thing to not be Arsenal's. So everyone needs to cool down. It's great, but we haven't played them twice. And I think there's a lot of, if they do not invest, this bench is not deep enough. This team is not deep enough to keep going 3 times a week for 5 months. They need to bolster their squad to keep the gap where it is. But everyone's freaking out. The odds are pretty tight for a reason. It's not fucking this is not in the bag by any means. I don't know who's saying that, but still just have to reiterate that.
Well, the odds are last I looked, Arsenal's minus 125, which they are, for the first time that I've ever seen. They're the favorites. It went up to First City plus 140 was the last I saw. And
might be good value.
I did. I just put money on City because of that. So we'll see. Bottom, by the way, so the 4 teams, by the way, it's so clear who the top 4 are right now. It's
you're still in 5th and you just had a freak out.
That's sad. That's the you problem to everybody else in the Premier League. How the fuck are you not above? No offense, Tyler, but how the fuck are you guys not above this Tottenham team? Because we fucking suck. Then the bottom 3 for me are very clear. The order could be mixed up a little bit, but Everton, West Ham, and Bournemouth for me, it's very clear that right now, anyway, those are the 3 worst teams in terms of form. I'm not saying that they're going to get relegated. I do think Bournemouth will, but they're the 3 worst for me. Any disagreement on that?
I look at numbers a lot on these, the goals conceded number. Bournemouth is pretty handily at the bottom of the table here with that.
They're coming back to earth with a quickness, I think.
Southampton would be behind them. And then, honestly, in terms of form, it's hard to overlook the Evertons and West Hams of the world. But I just want to use this segment to give a sniff at the woeful Leicester City at 18.
They sucked to begin the season. Then they kind of got it together.
Haven't they always been like that, though? They're a team that goes on 5 to 6 match runs up and down.
Yes. I mean, they went on a 38-match run one time. Yeah. I don't know. Leicester is so hot and cold. And I was saying, I was screaming that Rodgers wanted out. It just seemed like he wanted out. But then they sort of got it together. I was like, well, maybe he's still committed to them. And now they suck again. So I don't know what's going on with Leicester. But I think it's fair that you brought that up because they've been awful.
Bad.
Very bad. Lost 2-0 at Nottingham. Bad. All right. Weekly preview. I'm not saying weekend preview because the 2 games in the middle of the week here. We got Palace. No, not Palace. Who do we got? I can't even read my own notes. Palace United. Palace hosting United. I can read my own notes. Good for me. So Palace hosts United on Wednesday and City host Spurs on Thursday. I think both of these games have sort of huge implications for the title race. Number one, if Tottenham do what we somehow managed to do and beat City, I do not see that happening. I think we're going to get hammered. But if we somehow do that, then I'm going to get really nervous. Really nervous for fucking Arsenal winning the goddamn league. On the other hand, this is I know this is a different United team. We talked about it, for at length earlier in the show. This United team just feels different, but they're still United, and they've got years of tradition, if you will, of, finding a way to revert back to, whatever that is, the bad United. This is a game going to Palace. I know Palace is not playing well, but this is a game where even if United draw this game, I'm willing to say that they're great is in terms of like relative to where they came from. They're a top 4 team, but they're not a title contender if they don't win this game. For me, like they're out, and it's City Arsenal if they don't win this game. But if they do win this game, yeah, United, it's a 3-team battle race.
There's so much time.
Yes, but like these are games that you have to win. Like in the title race, we've already talked about the 8-point lead that Arsenal has already opened up. There's so much time and there's so many games. But if United don't win this game, they're already 9 points back right now. Say you beat them at the weekend, I mean, then it's for sure over for United. So this is a big week, especially for United. Any thoughts on either one of the Palace United City Spurs game before we get to the weekend?
You play City so well.
Yeah,
we do, but
you guys are bouncing back. Hopefully, there's good vibes in that locker room heading into this one. I'm really pulling for you guys.
Unbiased opinions only. I respect that, Mitch.
We get the wrong end. Go ahead, Tyler. Sorry.
No. I'm more interested in your take on this.
We've been on the wrong side of like when we're competing with Tottenham, they somehow beat City. So I think you're going to beat them just for the sake, or no, I think they're going to smoke you just because we want you to finally show up. So we're going to be always on the wrong side of this fixture for eternity, is what I think.
Listen, it's the only thing we can do to have a hand in the title race at this point. Just handing City 3 points. I know that we play well against City, right? It's sort of this mysterious phenomenon, but it just doesn't feel like some games where it's like, okay, well, we can count on our defense and our counterattack, it's deadly, in spots. Our counterattack is not deadly in any spots. There are no spots where we are deadly at the moment. So Kulusevski is healthy. That makes me happy and gives me like a little bit of faith. And Richarlison seems to be as well. So we didn't even talk about Richarlison and Ramsdale and all that. Maybe we can later. But
don't want to.
I like that we're getting these guys back, and perhaps it'll change something. But I'm ready to be hurt again, but at the same time, I've been hurt so much, and I'm hurting still. So yeah, I'm just not looking forward to this game. I think that City, especially coming off that loss, 2 losses. City is coming off 2 losses. They lost to Southampton in the Mickey Mouse Club, and then they lost to United. They could beat us like 12-0. They could beat us 12-0. I wouldn't be shocked. It wouldn't shock me. Let's get to the weekend then, because we still have huge games this weekend. Liverpool, Chelsea, Clown Show Bowl. I mean, it just, in the sense that first of all, huge teams, right? Anytime Big Six plays, it's interesting and exciting, and then, well, not always entertaining, but Liverpool and Chelsea, you guys are coming into this game, not playing well, not looking good. It just feels like things are amiss for both clubs. So what are your thoughts, Tyler? Just sort of like, I don't know what's going to happen. We might get our ass whooped, or is it just, okay, I'm glad that Chelsea is as bad as they are and as hurt as they are. You're on mute.
I am on mute. They're just as banged up and as listless as we are. That doesn't give me any more confidence. That just means that like whoever wakes up on the right side of the bed on that given morning is probably going to win. I don't know. I don't know what to make of my team anymore. I don't know what our floor is, but I sure as hell know what our ceiling is.
The game is at Anfield, so you got that going for you, which is nice. It is the 6:30 a.m. game on Saturday, which means, you could ruin your weekend bright and early. So that's nice. Yeah, that game, I have no idea what to expect from either one of those teams. The more interesting game, the more entertaining game, the more, top of the table game, Arsenal United on Sunday. I mean, Mikey already said it's the biggest game in Premier League history. So, Mitch, any thoughts from you on this?
Yeah, I think this is the biggest game in Premier League history. Sure. Well, let's call it that. Biggest Premier League game in the last 6 months, though.
Easily.
I'm excited. I'm excited for this. This is going to be a real test, and I don't really agree with your power ranking strategy of basing it off of a future game. But this is going to show who's the best team. It's going to reiterate who the best team in the league is.
Reiterate. It could have it could have a very different feel to it if United lose to Palace, or even if they draw with Palace. It'll take sort of some of the shine off of United. But whatever, it's still a big game. I'll give you guys that. Like, it should be a fun game. I'm excited for this game as neutral as I can possibly be. It should be an interesting one. Any other games from the weekend that stand out? I mean, West Ham and Wolves just got done playing, and Everton and Southampton just got done playing. The two losers of that game are playing now this weekend. West Ham is hosting Everton. That feels like you're going to be sacked in the morning, Dærby. Like, one of those coaches has to go if they lose that game. It just has to.
I'm super interested in that game. Super interested in that game, actually.
I think that's going to be a shootout. I think both teams have a lot to lose in this game, and it's going to be pretty open. I think you're
giving them both way too much credit.
Too much credit. Neither one of them can score, though. That should be. If it's a shootout, that'd be awesome.
I'll bet against you if you want to take the over in that game. We can book that.
I'm taking the over in cards for sure.
That's not what our friend from Down Under was saying.
No, I'll take over 2.5. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right, I like it. I'm gonna go with Mitch just because it makes no sense. No sense.
Can I make a confession, Mitch, and tell you that I was thinking about you in the shower this morning, and that I owe you $20 for the Matt Turner Zach Steffen bet, and then I'm going to.
I think you owe. You can give it. You can keep that $20 for thinking about me in the shower. I appreciate that. usually costs a little bit more than that to think about somebody in the shower. Usually does, but $20 for a thought is just about my going rate right now. So you can keep that. I appreciate you.
Oh man, this podcast. It's interesting sometimes. Anything else? Leeds, Brentford. Marsh he's got to get some wins. This might not be the game for that. Brentford is solid. Fulham, Tottenham. Yeah, we're definitely losing that. All right, move on. Stoppage time. Let's finish this up. We'll start with best bets. Ivan Toney's best bets. I believe Mikey came up with that one. Great name. Who should we start with? He's got to compile his eight game.
No, I'm good. Give me Wolves over City.
What?
And give me a Palace over United. I think both Manchester teams are going to lay an egg. I think
humongous.
What is the odds on that?
You're welcome, America.
Goodness gracious!
Oh my God,
I'll look it up.
All right, you know something. I'll taper it back. It is a little reckless. Give me a draw in the City Wolves game, and I know for a fact United are going to lose this game. For a fact, I talked to Patrick yesterday. Palace are going to win this game.
Palace win, and
I'll take that.
Wolves
it's a trap game, right? They're looking ahead
on the road. Absolutely.
That's a great shout.
Thank you.
So I'll probably hedge you and take the draw or Palace win. Take that like middle ground there. They're not taking 3 points away from Sellers.
You mean take a sane bet? Is that what you're saying?
I'm gonna take no, scared money don't make money, Tyler. I'm doing scared money.
Listen, you don't need to tell me. I'm still heavily invested in a couple of things that don't really exist on the stock market anymore.
So. Palace to win and draw in Wolves City. If you parlay those, you will get a cool plus 3,500.
Yes.
Not bad for a day's work.
Yes.
What do you got, Mikey? Mikey, did you give us? What do you have?
Yeah, I have Kane anytime goal scorer, Kulusevski anytime assist against City. put them together. I think Kulusevski played really well against Arsenal. I thought he missed a couple chances very narrowly. And I think City will know that and double him. And I think he's going to give Kane a goal. So that's my thought.
Interesting.
Fucking tactician over there, huh?
Yeah.
I think I'm really confident in it. I really am. He was good. Kulusevski impressed me. Of all the duds you had on the field, he was not one of them.
Yeah, there were a lot of duds out there. I'm done with the Ryan Sessegnon era. That needs to come
So is Conte. This is all political. He doesn't believe Sessegnon is good enough to play on that side.
As well he should. Mitch.
Fifth place.
That came from the soul, that did. I like your anytime goal scorer shout. I'll take the other side of that. Haaland in that game, anytime goal scorer. He feels like he's due, and he scores. That's what he does.
Put it with something, because that's not any money.
Oh no! I'm parlaying it. Don't worry. Both teams.
You're gonna lay down $1,500 to win $10. Like
yeah.
That,
what do you think? I'm
like that poor schmuck.
-205 is my best bet. I'm not that much of a pussy. Both teams to score. Leeds, Brentford, and then Newcastle money line against Palace brings you to +350.
Goodness,
Palace will be tired.
I like. Listen, if Leeds is
Palace
playing,
will be tired after their win against United.
If Leeds is playing, I'm in on both teams to score. Like it's a blanket bet. I don't even care who they're playing. Let's see. My best bet. I was going to check the odds on it, but I got Arsenal United over in both teams to score. Let me get the odds.
I have to confess something to you, Tyler, about me hyping the game up. I'm going to be there. At the Emirates.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
You are.
This is your.
I forgot about that.
Long anticipated first trip to England. Period, or just
the pilgrimage.
Yeah, this is my trip. Yeah,
he's going down under. anywhere abroad from now on is down under.
Down under. Yeah,
down under.
Absolutely.
Down under ish.
Are you excited to talk geopolitics with some Londonites?
I need to get a debrief from you beforehand to know what the buzzwords are.
You know everything that I know.
Yeah, I know. Fair.
Are you talking geopolitics, GEO or GIO?
GIO.
The only geopolitics that really matter anymore.
Overheard at the Dallas airport on my layover from a family of 4. Hey, did you hear what happened with that Reyes kid in the U.S. national team? And then he went into very surface level description of the shit that went down between Claudio and Berhalter. And I was eavesdropping the entire time. I wanted to intervene and I didn't. I was too tired to, but oh my God.
If Sam actually gave us any gear, you should have given them like sort of like a sticker to put on the laptop. Be like, hey, like this is a great podcast that I listen to for all my soccer information. It covers this story really well.
You should brush up on that soccer information. Yeah, here it is.
I'll carry stickers everywhere.
I'll work on the merch. Over 2.5, and both teams to score in that Manchester United Arsenal game, by the way, is +110. So that's my locked and loaded Ivan Toney's best bet. All right, time to finish up. Go is time.
Oh shit.
Where anybody want to? Mitch looks like he might be ready to go, so we'll go with Mitchell Goulet.
I'll usually use this time to shout somebody out for a positive reason, but it's going to be Richarlison. He's a weirdo. The dude is a fucking weirdo. I don't know what trauma he had in his childhood to make him so touchy and like sensitive about everything, but there's a pretty blurry line between shithousery and just being a weirdo on the field. He's crossed that line and it's no longer blurry. There's nothing fun or quirky about his antics, and you can't really do that when he's been performing like he has. So I was low on Richarlison when he came to Spurs, and I'm continuing to be low on him. I just think he's not helping you guys out one bit. He's comical. He really is he's like the evil version of Darwin Nunez.
You're saying Darwin is not evil.
I wouldn't call Darwin evil. No, Darwin is neutral chaotic.
Yeah, neither one of them are performing necessarily, at least at a high level, but they have a lot of,
I think that Darwin is taking a piss and he misses all these on purpose. I think he's evil.
I'd like to do one of those squares with the 9: neutral, chaotic good, chaotic bad. I think Richarlison is chaotic bad. I think Darwin Nunez is neutral chaotic. I'd have to give a think about the other 8, but I'll come up with something.
I like this. I want to see who you come up with on that one. Okay, Richarlison. The thing, it was actually a couple different little incidents. Was it Tomiyasu or somebody on the sideline where he kind of got into it over absolutely nothing. The thing with Ramsdale, I don't even really understand what he was angry about. I find him fun and interesting, unbiased opinion, but yeah, he's got to start performing. Otherwise, that's going to get old. Mikey, what you got?
Enzo Cazorla. Santi Cazorla's son posted a TikTok of Xhaka screaming at Conte and wrote, "Yeah, remind him North London is red." And he's got this squeaky. He's a young kid. And I just love when somebody like Santi Cazorla so clearly established where his home's flag flies and what color it is. So I was super excited to see that. And all love for Santi Cazorla. Anytime I get to mention him on the pod, I will.
I mean, listen, I like Santi Cazorla. Like, that guy's pretty likable. How old is his kid?
Very young, like under 10.
Oh man. Okay, that makes it even better. Okay, Tyler, who you got as your go?
I've got. How do I phrase this? One is kind of a neutral one. It's a big deal, but I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. The Chicago Fire just sold their 18-year-old Colombian international striker John Duran for $18 million guaranteed, with a possibility to get up to $22 million. Not too long ago, they sold Gaga Slonina to Chelsea for $10 million, potentially getting up to 15. For those of you who are really quick with math at home, that's potentially $37 million in business for the Chicago Fire. Now, this is where I don't know if this is a good thing or not, and you might be getting into some dangerous territory with this league. The Fire got to experience a full-blown South American teenage international and somebody who Aston Villa was interested enough to pay $18 million for after 1,300 minutes of real professional football. Whatever he was playing in Colombia doesn't really count, because if you see those games, you're like, this is not a real representation of soccer. But anyway, this is dangerous territory because, yes, the Fire and some of their MLS teams are proving to be, like sort of proving grounds for these young players, but at what cost? I mean, what's the point of bringing them in and nurturing them and giving them this opportunity if you're barely going to even get them for a full season of what they're actually fully capable of? So he's 19 now, and it's a great sale, and the Fire have done some really good business. The other problem is that people don't really understand how difficult the mechanisms are within Major League Soccer to actually recoup that money and put it back into the team properly. For John Duran's sale, because he's not a homegrown, if you're staying with me here, they can only use $1 million in GAM, which is the normal monopoly money currency that you can use to sign players. Otherwise, the only place that money can go is towards another DP or just simply back into the club to pay my salary. So it doesn't. It's really difficult to build your team around those sales because only so much of it is available to you, basically across the salary cap. So huge sale, big repercussions. What those repercussions are, whether this is a good or a bad goa, only time will tell.
Quick question on that. Will the Gaga, is it easier to use that money?
Yes, because he's a homegrown. So I think that's up to $6 million in GAM or something like that, because he came through the system. But the Fire bought Duran, flipped him, and now they can only use X amount of that money.
Interesting.
Also towards a U22 spot. I don't even want to go into what U22 means.
Yeah. MLS needs to, the more complicated it gets, usually, well, the more confused I get, obviously. Usually it's not necessarily a good thing. And I know why the rules are in place. The league perhaps at a certain point needed them. I don't know that they still do. I think they really got to sort of take another look at these rules. But well done, and thanks for the explanation, because I wasn't following that without that. So what's your other one?
My battle. Napoli. Great team.
Oh yeah.
They are fun to watch, and it makes me feel a lot better about the trouncing that Liverpool got from Napoli earlier this season in Champions League too. So double good goa. Napoli's a lot of fun, and I took Mikey's advice as well too, because there was a Premier League game on at the same time as Napoli and Juventus.
Yeah.
And I was like, this EPL game is dog shit. I don't want to just watch it because it's English, and I went to go watch the Italian, and I'm a big fan. I can admit it. I don't typically watch Serie A or really anything else other than Premier League with the occasional Messi or Bayern sightings. But yeah, no, Napoli are a lot of fun, and they're a really good fucking team, and they just dismantled Juve, who look a shell of themselves.
Hell yeah.
Well, good shout. They are very good. I took kind of a flyer on them to win the Champions League before the season, and yeah, it doesn't look so bad right now.
Kava's fucking insane.
Oh man, that they're just a good team, and they got some interesting content out of it. Did you see the I think it was a TikTok that I posted for? It was about like this guy who makes coffee, and he somehow made the Juve Napoli score and put it on the top of a coffee and turned it into like a pretty cool little TikTok. Great shithousery. In terms of like shithousery, that was one of the cooler ones I've ever seen. Anyway, good shout from you, Tyler. My Goa is none other than one of my best friends in the soccer world, Mema Ochoa, aka Pew Puff. So 37-year-old goalkeeper, ageless wonder that he is, showed up to Salernitana in Serie A and has just been playing his balls off. 3 games so far, conceded 11 goals and 0 wins so far. So just shout out to Ochoa. Keep on, my friend. Buenos dias and felicitaciones. That's what I was looking for. Well done so far. Anytime I can work Pew Puff into the show, I'm going to do it. So he's my Goa. Shout out Pew Puff. All right, guys. Tyler, Mitch, great to have you back. By the way, Mitch, Mikey, fuck you for causing me emotional distress this weekend, but it's always great to have you. And Tyler, thank you for being in the sad boy side of things with me here. And everybody else, thank you for listening and hopefully watching. This is another reminder. Go find us on YouTube. Do it right now. And we will see you guys next week.